It wasn't supposed to snow in Tianjin in August, but there I was, standing in a landscape of white dust, falling like toxic confetti over a graveyard of 4,000 scorched cars. My name is Chen, and I am the man who killed my brother. Not with a weapon, but with a hose. I gave him the water, and the water gave him the fire that erased him from existence. They call it an accident. I call it a blueprint for a massacre. The night of August 12, 2015 began with the smell of cheap coffee and the sound of the station's radio hum. I've spent 10 years as an operator. I don't fight the fire. I manage the machine. I am the heartbeat of the Mercedes-Benz Actros. The pump is my world. PSI, flow rates, valves. It's a language of certainty. Liu was sitting across from me in the locker room, 19 years old, polishing his boots as if he could shine the fear out of them. "Big night, Chen?" he asked, flashing that rookie smile that makes you feel 100 years old. Then the alarm screamed, a jagged industrial sound that tears through your spine. The dispatch sheet was simple: warehouse fire, Ruihai Logistics, standard goods. Standard: wood, paper, maybe some plastic. A routine Tuesday for the Binhai district. We drove through the city, the red lights of the convoy reflecting off the glass towers of a China that was growing too fast to look behind its own shoulder. I saw Liu looking out the window at the port cranes. They looked like giant metal insects against the smoggy moon. We didn't know we were driving into a trap, built by greed and signed by a clerk who never stepped foot on a dock. In our world, the blueprint is the law. You trust the manifest. You trust the symbols on the containers. You believe that the red and white diamonds on the steel walls are telling you the truth. But in Tianjin, the blueprint was decaying long before the first spark. The decay wasn't in the metal, it was in the souls of the men who signed the permits. Ruihai Logistics was a shadow game, a company that paid for the right to ignore the laws of chemistry. They were licensed to store dangerous goods, but the reality was an industrial nightmare. They had thousands of tons of chemicals stacked like cordwood in the middle of a civilian port. Calcium carbide, category 4.1, flammable solids that scream when they get wet. Sodium cyanide, category 6.1, toxic salts that can turn a city into a tomb with one breath. Ammonium nitrate, category 5.1, oxidizers that don't burn, they just wait for the right moment to decide they no longer want to be matter. They were all sitting there, sweating in the summer heat, separated by nothing but thin sheets of rusted steel and a lie on a clipboard. Illegal amounts, 3 times the legal limit, right next to the workers' dormitories. Here is the engineering horror, the fatal flaw that no one mentioned in the dispatch briefing. Calcium carbide is stable. It's a rock until it meets its soulmate, water. In every training manual since the 19th century, they tell you, when you pour water on a fire, you take away the heat. You break the triangle of combustion. But when you pour water on calcium carbide, you aren't extinguishing a fire, you are starting a chemical factory. Water hits the carbide and it doesn't cool it down. It reacts, it boils, it releases acetylene gas, a substance so volatile, so hungry for oxygen, that it can explode from the heat of its own creation. We were sent there to douse a fire, but we were actually feeding the beast. Physics doesn't care about your intentions. Physics only cares about the reaction. And the reaction was already waiting for us in the dark, deep inside those blue and green boxes, waiting for the first drop from my pump. We entered the labyrinth at 11:10 p.m. The port was a tech-noir forest of shipping containers, towering walls of Hyung-Ah and Hapag-Lloyd blue, and the deeper we drove, the more the air changed. It wasn't just hot, it was electric. It tasted like copper, old batteries, and a strange, sharp scent of bitter almonds, the smell of cyanide gas already leaking into the night. Liu jumped out before the tires stopped spinning, his orange jumpsuit a bright target against the industrial black. "Cover me, Chen! Get the pressure up!" he yelled, dragging the heavy hose toward a stack of smoking containers. I stepped to the back of the truck, my hands moving by muscle memory, a dance I had performed 1,000 times. Check the intake, check the pressure gauge, watch the needles. I felt the vibration of the Mercedes engine through my boots. The Actros was purring, a perfect 400 horsepower heart doing exactly what it was designed to do. It was a beautiful machine, and I was using it to build a bomb. I opened the main valve. I watched the hoses stiffen like veins filling with hot blood. I saw Liu at the nozzle, 30 meters away, bracing himself against the 150 psi of kickback. He was brave, too brave for his own good. He aimed the stream into the heart of the smoke. The moment the water hit the containers, the logic of the world shattered. The fire didn't go out. It didn't turn black or gray. It turned white, a predatory, blinding, chemical white that felt like it was burning my retinas. It wasn't a flame anymore. It was a furnace of acetylene. The ground began to growl, a deep sub-bass vibration that shook the teeth in my skull and made the very asphalt feel like liquid. Then, the first crack. The first explosion was 2.9 tons of TNT equivalent. It wasn't just a sound, it was a physical hand that slapped the world. The shockwave hit the Actros like a freight train. The windshield turned into 1,000,000 diamonds and sprayed across my face in slow motion. I was thrown backward, my world spinning into a haze of dust, grit, and the screams of tearing metal. I remember the silence that followed, a terrifying, absolute vacuum where sound used to be. My eardrums were gone. I tried to stand, my fingers clawing at the gravel. And then, 30 seconds later, the real monster woke up. 800 tons of ammonium nitrate decided to join the reaction. 21 tons of TNT equivalent, a magnitude 2.9 earthquake, a fireball that reached the clouds and painted the moon in blood. The sky didn't just turn orange, it ceased to exist. In that moment, physics stopped being a science and became a god of pure destruction. I woke up on my back, staring at a sky that looked like the end of the world. It was raining, but the rain was gray and white, ash, soot, and something else. I stood up, my navy blue jacket shredded, my skin feeling like parchment. I looked around and saw the Beetle graveyard. 4,000 brand new Volkswagen cars, rows upon rows of white skeletons, their paint vaporized by the heat, their tires melted into the concrete like black tears. A surreal monument to industrial greed. I started walking, calling his name, "Lou, Lou," but my voice was just a dry rasp in the chemical heat. The port was silent now, the kind of silence you only find in a tomb. I found the hose. It was fused to the asphalt, a black, charred line of rubber leading straight to the edge of the abyss. Where the warehouse stood, there was no warehouse anymore. There was only a hole, a crater 60 meters wide, filled with oily, dark, toxic water. The very water I had pumped from my truck was now sitting in the grave of my brother. I found a white helmet rolling slowly in the toxic wind across the cracked ground. It wasn't dented, it was not broken, it was just empty. 104 of us stayed in that port forever. 104 men who followed the rules of a blueprint that was written in bribes and signed in blood. We were professionals. We did everything right. And that was the tragedy. We were too good at our jobs to see the lie. They died because a line of code in a database was changed for a handful of yuan. They died because I gave my brother the water he asked for, and the water was the bullet that tore him apart. Whenever it snows now, I don't see the beauty of the cold. I see the cyanide. I see the rows of burnt Volkswagens, and I feel the vibration of the pump still running in the back of my mind. The blueprint is still there, and somewhere, in another port, in another city, another lie is waiting for the water to start the fire. Blueprints decay, but chemistry is eternal. There is no forgiveness in the reaction. There is only the result.
Subscribe. Physics doesn't wait for those who ignore the truth.